Hello, 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 and welcome to today's episode of Her Version. This podcast is dedicated to sharing stories of struggle and triumph, a platform that allows individuals to tell their truth in order to inspire and uplift others. For those of you that are new to this podcast and like content like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you follow, like, and share. I am your host, Sabrina Victoria. Let's jump right in. Hello, 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 and thank you for joining us today for this version of Her Version. This platform is built on storytelling and the understanding that many times our greatest learning experiences come from listening to other people's stories. Today, I am speaking with an amazing woman named Elizabeth Burrows. Have you ever wanted to edit your life? I know I have. Not make it over, not delete it entirely, but just edit it just a little bit. Elizabeth is here today to talk about her journey through not feeling adequate as a woman, a wife, or a mother, her struggle with expectations and feeling alone. Today, we are talking real life, the ups and downs of just everyday life, what it means to struggle, and why struggle isn't necessarily a bad thing. I want to welcome Miss Elizabeth. How are you? What do you think is the number one lesson you've learned from life?
Oh man, the number one. Okay. So I think the number one thing that I have learned, like all over the place, is what I'm doing is never as important as who I'm being. What I'm doing is just never the real thing. It's never what really matters. If I'm being the person that I want to be, and if I'm being a higher version of myself, then the doing takes care of itself. And when I only focus on what I should be doing, it actually takes me into a cycle of second guessing myself, trying to do as much as possible in order to please others, right? Trying to work my way to prove that I'm worth something, right? And that I'm worthy of love and affection and, right, all of these wonderful relationships. And none of that is true. If I just be a loving person, if I can be a loving mom, right? If I can be an attentive wife, then the doing takes care of itself.
Yeah, definitely. Wow, what I'm doing is not as important as who I am being.
Yeah, seriously, like number one lesson.
Love this. All falls into place when you are being great points.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. As far as, um, you know, success. And, especially you were talking about motherhood, you were talking about working moms, using your own journey and what you've been through. What would be your definition of success?
So I think one of the most important lessons that I learned kind of early on into that journey is that success looks different during different seasons of life.
I love that.
And especially like in parenthood, when you have a new baby, right? Like no one knows this as much as parents know this, right? Like a newborn, right, is different than an infant. An infant is different than a toddler, right? A toddler is different than a child, right? And all of these phases happen, and what you need to be successful, like to successfully rear your child or deal with your child during those periods, is different, and it changes, right? And some of those seasons are shorter, some are longer, right? And it's important to kind of recalibrate for every single season. And I realized that one of the mistakes that I had made was not calibrating for success in the right season. So this is so funny. And I'm slightly embarrassed every time I tell this story because I'm like, why did I believe this? So when I got pregnant, I had an amazing pregnancy, right? I was healthy and happy, like zero, like I didn't even have morning sickness. I think I threw up one time during my entire pregnancy, and that was literally when I was in labor, right? So I had I had one of the easiest pregnancies. And I went in for my delivery, and I had a wonderful delivery. You know, I was able to deliver natural with no medications. And so I was very happy for that. Kind of a relatively simple recovery, right? Like it was a very like nice, lovely story. And I had this vision, had this expectation that so because I was so healthy and I had such kind of an easy pregnancy, I was able to kind of keep doing all of the things that I had been doing for like very late into my pregnancy, right? Like I went to work the day before I went into labor, right? So like that is how much that was how okay I was and how normal life was until the day my daughter arrived. And I took 8 weeks off of work for maternity leave. And I expected myself after maternity leave to step back into what my life looked like pre-delivery.
Oh.
right. It was so silly. And it was just so naive of me, right? So I thought, right, because I had also lots of family support. So I live basically in the same community where I grew up. My parents are here. I have 2 of my 3 sisters that live here in town, right? So I had just my husband's family lives in town, right? So we just have lots of support that is around us. And honestly, shout out to single moms, because I don't know how people raise kids without like a family system in place, because it was hard for me with all of that support around me. And I just have so much respect for anyone who does it with less. So shout outs to everybody that is making it work. But so because I think I had all this support, I just kind of expected that I would be able to keep doing everything that I had been doing, because I didn't have any lingering health complications, right, from pregnancy or delivery. My daughter, right, didn't have any complications as a baby, and she had a really good temperament, right? She was kind of easy to care for. And so I took 8 weeks off, right, my maternity leave, and I kind of took my maternity leave not just from work, but from other commitments. And then I tried to jump right back into everything. And of course, it was a nightmare, right? It did not at all work out that way. Everything needed adjustments. And so the expectation that I had for myself to just like that my life as a mom was going to be the same as my life before being a mom, just now with a baby. Like that is not what happens. It's literally a whole new life. Yeah. And so I had to recalibrate for that season. And then, you know, once my daughter was a little older and she started going to school, we eased her into school, you know, 2 and 3 days a week, right? So once we started easing her into school, like I thought that, oh, she's not a baby anymore, right? So now it's easier. No, just the challenges were different. But now there's a school that's expecting my daughter to get there on time and to be like clean and in a uniform. Like it was crazy, right? So I learned that calibrating for success based on the season of life that I was in was incredibly important, because if not, I was just setting myself up for frustration and disappointment.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Where are you at now?
Now I'm somewhere where I've never been. And I'm actually trying to figure out what success looks like for me in this stage of life. So pre-pandemic, I was still working in my full-time career. I was in the nonprofit sector. I was going into the office every day. I had a bit of a commute. My daughter was in school. And now I am working from home. I make my own schedule, right? I'm a full-time coach and not in that sector. And my daughter goes to school while I work from wherever I have Wi-Fi and relative quiet, right? So I have different opportunities and I get to figure out what I want for myself right now. And then that gets to be what success looks like. So while I figure it out, I've given myself permission to just be okay, actually to be thrilled with working with any level of clients, making sure my daughter is succeeding in school, right? So making sure that she's getting her homework done and maintaining good grades and, being in contact with the folks at school, right? To handle anything that comes up, and being able to spend some time with my family and maintaining a good relationship with my husband. Like right now, that's what success looks like. I'm sure in 6 months, it might look a little different. So.